James O'Brien on LBC.
It's 10 minutes to 1. I get sent a lot of books, and some of them are self-published, and oddly enough, that doesn't mean that they are the ones that go to the bottom of the pile. Sometimes they're the ones that can surprise you the most. And this landed on my desk a few weeks ago, Personal Use by the North London Hippy. And I don't know whether it's because it has quite a psychedelic cover or whether it's because it was accompanied by quite a sort of winning letter, stroke press release. But I opened it and I read this. Hello, I'm the North London Hippy and I have a drug problem. No, silly, not that kind of problem. My problem with drugs is this. The drug laws are stupid and the substances I enjoy most are prohibited by law. And I obviously, for reasons that I probably don't need to explain, I need to absolutely stress that last bit. We are talking now about crimes, we're talking to a self-described criminal, but the whole point of this conversation is why North London Hippy, who is in the studio, what do I call you, Mr. Hippy?
Hippy's
North?
fine.
Hippy's okay.
Hippy's fine.
Hippy's fine. Why you feel it's wrong that these substances, all of these substances pretty much, are illegal. I've done a lot, as you know. It's why you sent me the book on the decriminalisation of cannabis. So let's not start there, because I wouldn't go as far as to say decriminalise everything. Why am I wrong about that?
Because criminalizing people doesn't help them; it makes it worse. All drugs can be taken safely if you have a bit of knowledge.
And it's the absence of knowledge, as ever. It's ignorance that is
It's the absence of
harmful.
knowledge. It's the criminalization. It's putting people in jail for something they don't belong in jail for.
And why do you have to stay anonymous?
Because I'm talking about things that are currently against the law.
So you work in a field where it would be professionally injurious to you.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to risk it. I wouldn't want to bring embarrassment to my employers.
Okay. And in that case, why take up the cause at all? Why not just
Because it's something I feel extremely strong about. And I feel like we all sit around and we retweet things and we pretend we're activists.
You just retweeted me when I said...
I retweet stuff all the time. That's
course.
why I refer to myself as a make-believe activist.
Right.
I'm trying to come away from that. I want to do something. I want to make the world better.
And I mean, a lot of people listening to this will struggle to see how legalising drugs will make the world better. Address them rather than people that are halfway there. Address the complete skeptics.
Let's start with cannabis, which is a drug that's being legalized around the world. Yeah. We see places where it's not causing any problems. It's having the opposite effect. It's solving problems. There's the business aspect. There's a huge market for cannabis already in this country, and the government doesn't see a penny from it. That's wrong. It's not regulated in any way. It could be contaminated. It could be not what you might not know what you're buying. In places where it's legal, it's labeled, it's tested, it's taxed, it's regulated, it's handled differently.
Have you experienced that? Have you been back to the States?
I haven't been back to the States, but I've been to Holland many times, where I realize it's not technically legal, but it's tolerated.
Sure, I've been intrigued by some of the stories I've heard from America as well.
No, likewise, but I read about it a lot. There's a lot of good websites you can get a lot of good information from. One of them is called The Cannabist, which is the Denver Post's website that specializes in cannabis, where it's a place where it's legal, where it's a huge business, and that's something we're missing out here. It's a huge business. There was an article last week that said legal cannabis in America right now is bigger than the .com boom. Just let that sink in for a second. It's bigger than the .com boom. There's jobs being created. What do you think? Go on, carry on. No, in Canada, they're getting ready to legalize this year nationally. And Justin Trudeau, everybody's favorite prime minister, has said he's doing it to make children safer. Right now, kids can get cannabis, and there's no ID checks. You go to a dealer, you give them 10 quid, you get a bag of weed.
And you're consulting with a criminal who's more likely to have gangland links or possibly guns and knives.
Or cocaine, or,
but you also want cocaine to be decriminalised. You talk about your own drug use in this book, and you've kind of run...
Criminalising it doesn't help. I've lost friends to cocaine. Criminalising it made it worse. It made it harder for them to get help at points in their life when they wanted to get help. Look, there's been people who've overdosed on heroin with friends in the room because they're afraid to call for an ambulance because they're afraid to get in trouble. That just shouldn't happen. There's no reason why people should die.
What do you... because if you just tuned in now, you might think that you've already won the argument. These are brilliant, powerful... So no, hang on. Why does where do you think it came from? Because it didn't used to be criminalised.
If you go back at the history of it, a lot of it's based in racism.
Really?
Especially if you look at cannabis in the early 1900s, it was a way to target Mexicans.
And in this country, possibly West Indians.
Correct.
A little later in history.
Look at what they did to the Somalis last year with cat. It's a mild stimulant. There's no reason to criminalize them. It's used in one small community, but they've criminalized them. It's wrong.
And yet you wouldn't want to be driven, for example, by someone who was under the influence.
No, but I wouldn't want my surgeon to be high. I wouldn't want my airline pilot to be high.
So you need to treat it like alcohol,
Well, yeah.
effectively.
Hopefully better than alcohol, because I don't think we do very well with alcohol.
How does the mission work then, Mr. Hippie? Because the book, it kind of preaches to the converted, doesn't it? In terms of its initial appearance. I mean, it looks like it would be for sale in a head shop next to a bong, which is the sound of a 45-year-old man trying to establish his head
Well,
shop
I wouldn't object to that. If people wanted to stock it next to bongs, that's fine.
But they're already on your side. How do you take it to a kind of conservative backbench MP or something like that?
I would love to sit down with MPs and talk to them about this. The evidence is overwhelming for regulation.
And so your driving force is actually quite altruistic. You're not just trying to make your own life easier.
I smoke weed already. That's not going to change legal or illegal. It's something I feel strongly about because it's wrong.
You clearly do. Who else have you sent books to? I mean, how much traction, how much bribe have you made? Is this it? Is this the big moment?
This is the big moment. This could be the only moment. That remains to be seen.
And that's the thing I'm trying to unpick.
I only sent a couple out,
Did you?
so I was pleasantly surprised when you responded.
No, I was intrigued by it. I still am, and it's nicely written as well. It has a bounce to it, and I mean, it's very confessional. You've done the sort of.
I wasn't
going
to hold anything back.
I guess you can't, can you? And in a way, the problem with anonymity is that to win the argument, you kind of need to stand up and say, I run a merchant bank and I get high every night. Don't worry.
I'd like to see everybody who smokes weed step out of the green closet.
And they can't because...
Well, because they'll get in trouble, and they shouldn't.
No. Again, it's sort of this notion of the argument being won in the circles where drugs are taken, and yet...
I've always thought if we were going to change the laws in this country, it would happen under the Conservatives.
Yeah,
it would happen.
You've just second-guessed my next question. More likely to be done by a Theresa May than by a Tony Blair.
Capitalism, money. If you're against selling it legally, you're against capitalism, and that's just... I keep saying it's just wrong, but it is. It's just wrong.
And all the taxes there, and the only people who theoretically shouldn't want it to be legalised are the people making all the money now, who ultimately, when you get to the top of these chains, are some of the nastiest criminals on the planet.
It's not even criminals. In America, where they've run campaigns to legalise in different states, the opposition has come from the private prison industry, the alcohol industry, and the pharmaceutical industry.
The private prison industry, because
where their customers going to come from.
They'd actually lose business.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And but you unpick all of this in the book.
I do.
How can people get hold of a copy if they have been
anywhere? They can download it on iBooks or Kindle. They can get it from Amazon. Any bookshop can get it for you.
And they just need to look up, all one word, North London Hippy.
If you Google that, you'll find links to buy the book.
North London Hippy, and the book is called Personal Use. I sense genuine worry, though. I mean, when you came in here, we double-checked the cameras were off.
Yeah, of course there's concern. I don't want to lose everything because I've written a book where I've told the truth.
Sure. Well, let's leave it there. Don't want to lose everything because I've written a book in which I told the truth. It's a great book. It's a great read. And in my opinion, it's a worthy cause. But, of course, I stress again from that line that was in the foreword, just for anybody who's worried that we aren't being responsible. The drug laws are stupid, and the substances I enjoy most are prohibited by law. When Andrew Castle came into the studio to deputise for Sheila Fogarty this afternoon, I was a tiny bit worried that you thought he was Special Branch.
No. I recognise Mr. Castle.
Of course you do.
Have you been skinning up at LBC?
He's got his black
Well,
coat
I have to say I was a bit disappointed you didn't have a bong set up for me in hospitality.
There's a couple of likely lads here. I shall finger your collar on the way out.
Andrew Castle's here. I'll see you again Monday morning
James,
from 10.
thank you and happy birthday.
Thank you, North London Hippy. And thank you.
Happy birthday. Enjoy a good skin up this evening, and we'll chat later on.